Hey, Mason here. Just thought I'd do a quick update on this build before I go play Monster Hunter Wilds, which comes out in like 20 minutes. But right now I've farmed about 60 divines. My character has a play time of 2 days and 2 hours, so not that much. I haven't really been playing all that much. But the character's at a state where I don't need to upgrade it, and I'm going to be farming for Mageblood whenever I come back to PoE. So I'm just going to pop into PoE. I'll just show you a few of the progression tiers and then kind of how you should progress with this. So in my previous setup, I showed, I think, 1 day of playtime. I will just show the state of the build right before swapping over to the power charge setup. So all the notes are in here. Most of them include stuff like clusters, flasks, animated guardians. End of day 2, you can see I did gem qualities. I gave AG a bit of gear. I also got myself a remarkable and grand design cluster. Here's some of the upgrades that I talked about getting. I actually never ended up getting this, but you can get it. But this is kind of the state where the build is finished in terms of the pre-power charge stacking setup. There's not too much to talk about on this. It's more or less what Kua was playing. I can say that I did take this node here and this node here for a little bit more tankiness to help with the guards. I think you want around 3k max hit for the guard normally, but he has a chance to crit, and you can also get the 50% affliction. So you probably want around 5 to 6k, I think it is, to be super safe. But the gear is like so weak and so like cheap that it's not really even bothering. If you die to a guard, you just go next. I will just showcase that I am using Lightning Warp. I think Kua uses Shield Charge and Flame Dash. I'm a big fan of Lightning Warp. And all of these are pretty standard. The specters I'm using are the Perfect Pain Artist and the Totem one. I will just find their names. Yeah, Perfect Spirit of Fortune and Perfect Pain Artist. Spirit of Fortune gives, it should say here what they give. Yep, gives Zealotry, and this one gives Wrath. So there's 2 auras on my specters. Aside from that, there's not much. This is a 4-link with Clarity to use the this thing, 8% increased damage for each aura on you. So that helps with that. Otherwise, Clarity actually does nothing. And my Penance brand is a 3-link, and I'm using the Aegis Shield. So this thing's actually really insane, the Aegis Shield for early game. Okay, so I played this until, I think, around 2 days. And then I swapped over to the power charge setup, which I will just show the initial swap, which is this one right here. So on the initial swap, we have all the standard gear. We have Void Battery, we have the shield. This is the same as before. This is a replica Restless Ward because it gives you more movement speed per charge. Ralakesh and Patience, I think, was around 5 divine. Badge of the Brotherhood, I bought this with the Anoint, which was 1.3 or something like that, 1.5 divines. This ring here was dirt cheap, and this belt here was pretty cheap. So this ring here I bought, it's just a standard life res double attribute ring. There's actually nothing too special about this. It's not like anything fancy. And I will quickly point out that I do take off self-chill. So you see the self-chill node here? I take this off because I don't want to use Forbidden Rite, because it's like, it does a lot of damage to you, which is dangerous, and it's kind of clunky to use. So I just took that shit off. Instead I'm running Sea Legs, and the only point of this is just to help with the res. So my res is actually capped. Just make sure this is correct. Yep. So it's capped and it gives a tiny bit more crit. Like basically not much crit, it's just a very small amount. So that's just personal preference. You can try this one here, you can also try this one here. It doesn't really matter. This one just gives res, and I'm just like, I don't have enough res, so I'm like, okay, might as well try it. In terms of what has changed, we're now on a 6-link for Penance brand. So I was actually leveling a lot of these other gems like Power Charge on Crit in my offhand, Hypothermia, and Swift brand. I will point out quickly that if you want to run Swift brand, you need to take, well, you don't have to, but it helps a lot. You want to take these 3 points here. So these 3 points here are, in my opinion, like absolutely insane for Swift brand. Without this, Swift brand feels absolutely really bad. It feels terrible to use. So I would highly recommend you take these 3 points here. And I got those points by, I think I was dropping some random, like I think I dropped this life node here, and then I dropped some notable, like this notable here, or this, yeah, it was this notable here. So not a big deal. The rest of this is all the same as what Kua is doing. But yeah, I would recommend taking this brand cluster if you're playing Swift brand, and Swift brand is by far the most damage increase that you can get on brands. In terms of what's changed, Herald of Purity is on Arrogance now. And I am taking think it's this node right here. Yep, life reservation. He doesn't actually take this. I just chose to take this to get myself a bit more HP. And I'm not actually taking this cluster here. So I've lost out on the, what is it? The 8% increased damage per aura affecting you. So I'm not taking that mastery anymore. This is all the same. Meat Shield is supporting both Spectre and Guardian. Vitality is just sitting on its own, being reserved on life. This is all the same. The Convocation automation with the double auras. Lightning Warp, I've kept it. And my Golem, I've kept it with haste. So that's like more or less no changes in terms of the skills. We're just on a 6 link now. I will note I bought a Timeless Jewel for the Inner Conviction. You will need this for damage. It's very important that you make sure that this node here, and this one's like optional, but you generally want to make sure that this node here also doesn't change. And it's not that hard to do. All you would do is you'd go into PBoD and you would look for, I think it's Militant Faith, Inner Conviction. Yep. And you'd pick like, it doesn't really matter. But there was a filter node, and you can see these nodes here. Change this, stop these nodes from changing. So I'm going to pick the minion instability one, and I want both of these. You just go like add, and you just pick like whatever you want here, or you can just sort by full DPS, whatever, and just send it, and it will give you one that doesn't affect those. The way I did it is I just scrolled through the trade listings to find the cheapest one, and I just checked, pasted them into PBoD. So this one ends up changing this one up here. But you don't actually even take this node here anyways, so it's like whatever, it doesn't really matter. So that's more or less it. You are also taking Mind Over Matter here, and I am personally taking this Energy Shield Mastery for 2% ES per second, because it helps. Mainly because if you get hit, your ES will stop regening, so this one helps a lot with that. So that's more or less it, there's not much else to this. And then I'll showcase the final setup. I'll just go here. I'll just quickly talk about AG. So my AG at this point was still like just very cheap stuff. Leocast, Dying Breath. I swapped to Gruthru's for, I think it was 1.5D. This is still the same, and this is just whatever. Like it was just, I just got some boots with Threads, and that's it. So in my notes, you can see this is the point of the build. These were the prices. This was the div to C ratio. I was talking about Haste Scepter plus Rot Guard, but this doesn't actually work because you get a 5% chance when the Spectre hits to, I actually spelled this wrong again, when the Spectre hits to actually get the Frenzy Charge. So I don't actually think this is that good. Yeah, and I took this off because of Full Bright. And then here's what I did next. So Brain Duration nodes on Tree, done. Body Armor, I actually bought the wrong one originally. I swapped them over. And then it's more or less Eldritch Implicit on Gloves, add Series Flask, and finishing AG's gear. And I'll show that right now. So here's the final kind of setup. So it's actually, I think my in-game played is like 2 days and 2 hours. So it's not actually 3 days played. So I'll probably just change that quickly. I'll just say like 2 days playtime, saving for Mageblood. Yep. So in this setup, in the notes, you can see here that these are all done. And then I got Life Regen, double res gloves for my Guardian Blessing, for my AG. So that's now on Guardian Blessing. Sorry, the AG is now hosting the Aura. Legacy of Fury, 50C. I bought Kingsmaker this morning. I think it was around 3D. And what to do next? So it's just Sanctum relics. So maybe relic quant, maybe rooms, whatever I feel like, we'll see. But the gear is all finished for this setup. So in terms of changes, nothing has changed in the skill tree. Skills have changed, however. So 6 link is still the same. This Convocation automation loop is still the same, although I would recommend qualitating up Convocation or automation so that you can have your Guardian TP to you more often, since the haste is now on him, as well as he has Kingsmaker. So Kingmaker, you want the effect of it on you the most often. This is still the same. So here's the change. My haste is now with Guardian Blessing, Animated Guardian, and Meat Shield. And my Spectre setup has Meat Shield and Vitality. So as a result, if I go back to the previous one, you can see that previously I was running Stone Golem. So I dropped Stone Golem. I moved these two together with Animated Guardian and Meat Shield. And then I added in an extra Meat Shield for the race Spectre. So that's basically the change in terms of gems. And that's more or less it. It's just upgrade the AG's gear, grab this damage flask, and the build is perfectly fine. You don't need to invest more into this build if you just want to run Sanctums. Obviously, the faster you go, the better. So I'll be going for Mageblood next after I come back from Monster Hunter. But The full DPS is like 40 million, which is perfectly fine. I have a clip of me killing Lycia with, I think it was 50% more monster life and 40% less damage, and there was not any big issues with that. So more or less that's set. I will just quickly show that clip. Just give me 1 second. Alright. So this was Lycia, final phase, with 50% more monster life and 40% less damage. And you can see that damage is obviously not, like you're not one-shotting the boss, but the boss is still going to die before she does lightning. I will note that you want to place your brands quite often, even though you okay, so normally you wouldn't press your brands like very often because you're playing like brands, right? You place them once and you run around. But on this one, you do actually want to press your brands maybe like every 3 to 4 seconds because the Swift brand makes the duration of it quite short. And so there's a chance that if the duration runs off on the boss and then like the boss is not taking any damage for like, I don't know, 2-3 seconds, there's a chance that you won't be able to kill her before lightning, which is the most important part of this. So that's more or less it. I may or may not make an update. It depends if I come back after Monster Hunter. But the idea is that I'm just going to save for Sanctum relics, and then once those are bought, I'm going to buy Mageblood. I have some investments, so I'm just holding on to those. I think Kinokora's Lock I bought at like 23 divines, and it's like nearly 50 to 60 divines now. So I'm hoping I hold it and I come back, and it might be like 100 divine, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.